Great. Well, thank you, Stephen, and thank you all for having Sheila and I here to have a chance to talk to you about this program. We had a chance to present this at the CSUN conference earlier this year, where we met Rosemary, and really honored that she would invite us to come present to your group here. So very happy to do so. This essentially started as a partnership that we launched at CES 2016. CES is a trade show. Actually, I guess I'll take a quick step back and just say a little bit about who we are, and IBM. I can have Sheila add to, but obviously a global technology company, and CTA Foundation is actually a charitable foundation that is affiliated with a trade association that represents technology companies, everything from large global companies like the IBMs and Samsungs and Sonys of the world, to about 80% of their members are small businesses. And our foundation is particularly focused on how we can link older adults and people with disabilities with technologies to enhance their lives. So we've been funding a number of programs over the last few years. And when IBM came to us with the opportunity to work together on this program, we were really excited to do it, and had the chance during Ginny Rometty, the CEO of IBM's keynote at CES 2016, to announce this partnership to look at what impact cognitive technologies will have on the aging population. So we were really excited to come together and have this conversation and do this research. So as to why we decided to look at Outthink Aging, we really looked at some of the broader demographics that are going on both within the United States, but quite frankly around the world. Here in the U.S. we have over 10,000 Americans turning 65 every day, and when we look worldwide, there's over 900 million people over the age of 60, and that's expected to get up to over 2 billion by 2050, which will actually be 22% of the population. So the good news is we're all likely to be living longer, but there's also some challenges as well. So we wanted to look at what impact technology can have, and where there's opportunities to both assist individuals as well as their caregivers and others as we look at the technology space. Now I'll turn it to Sheila for her next piece.
Thanks so much, Steve. And I'm Sheila Zinck, and I work for IBM in IBM's research division. And we have a special unit that is just focused on accessibility. And from IBM's perspective, we have a long heritage on technology and supporting and helping technology become more inclusive. And in some respects, the aging demographic represents one of the fastest growing cohorts of people with disabilities. As we age, we acquire disabilities. And for most people, starting around age 40, vision and hearing starts to change. And then by the time we reach 60 and beyond, nearly half the population will have one disability, and often multiple ones, involving either vision and hearing or mobility or cognitive impairments. So coupled with the numbers that Steve just showed you, we realized that there's going to be an enormous impact as people get older, and getting older in increasing numbers. They're going to have one or more disabilities, and we need to work on solutions that are going to help support them. And we think that with the advances that we're making in cognitive technology and cognitive computing, that the intersection of cognitive computing with consumer technology and electronics, it really has enormous potential. It can deliver and create new solutions not for just millennials, but also for people of all ages and abilities. And if we really focus on a cohort of people that are age 50 and older, we really think there's enormous potential here for cognitive solutions that will help manage everyday activities, and really with the goal of extending people's independence and enriching the quality of their life. Okay, so Steve, I'm going to turn it back to you just to talk about the study that we initiated almost a year and a half ago.
Yep. Well, thank you. And yeah, as I mentioned, we launched this at CES, which was January of 2016. And essentially we're able to come out and talk about how we really want to investigate how these types of technologies could do things like reduce social isolation and promote wellness and enhance independent living. And the way that we were able to approach this challenge was essentially to engage a number of teams of university students to get their outside thinking into how these different types of technologies could be utilized. We also were able to crowdsource input from everything such as utilizing attendees at conferences like CSUN and South by Southwest to get their input and feedback, as well as an online poll where we were able to gather a number of pieces of input as well.
Okay. So as Steve said, when we conceived this study, we realized that we were in a bit of uncharted territory. This wasn't going to be a traditional study where we have an established market segment with clearly defined audiences or a set of requirements, or even kind of a dominant, or a clear market or path to market. And when you work with the older adult population, you realize that there are a lot of different stakeholders. There's hundreds of different variables that are all interconnected. It's a very complex space to study. So again, we approached this with the idea that we really did want to engage with millennial thinkers, and I'll talk a little bit more about that aspect of the study, but also combine it with some outreach, both at some conferences that we attended in 2016, as well as an online poll. These are just some quick facts about the study. As I said, we had a university piece of the research. We focused on 4 university teams from Babson, Columbia University, Hult, and University of Texas. We spent about 6 months overall with this research study. It was across the globe. We had different people from different geographies working with us. And I'm going to kind of start by talking a little bit about the Innovation Olympics. And as Steve said, we really wanted to engage with millennial thinkers for a couple of reasons. One of which is, we're dealing with new technology. And we wanted to work with a group of people who had been using technology all of their lives. And that this is, just part of the way that they live. So we wanted to tap into their thoughts. And we turned to a group in Cambridge called the IXL Center for Innovation and Excellence. And they are dedicated to helping startups and Fortune 500 companies like IBM to generate new ideas and business strategies, literally thinking outside of the box in unconventional ways. And this is an unconventional challenge that we gave them. And it's a fairly structured project. It's an 8-week guided challenge that asks university and business school students to really kind of think hard and leverage their skills and knowledge to solve a real innovation and growth issue. So as I said, we had 4 teams of students at 4 different universities, about 9 to 10 students on each team. We provided the teams with an overview of the aging landscape and the demographics, a lot of knowledge that we've acquired as we've studied the space for a couple of years. And we also briefed them on kind of the relative technologies that we wanted them to consider. And they were guided. The very beginning of the process, they worked very collaboratively and kind of crowdsourced. Everybody kind of put their ideas on kind of a virtual bulletin board. And from that, we kind of gathered a lot of really great thoughts and then continued to kind of narrow down their focus. And then at a certain point, we gave them a challenge, and they were incented. There was a prize involved here to really kind of come up with a business plan for a new idea to address this space. We gave them, there were a couple of core things that they had to include in their recommendations. The solutions that they looked at had to have two main components. It had to involve consumer electronics devices as well as cognitive computing. The solutions had to be delivered through a network of partners. Instead of going direct to consumer, we really wanted them to think about all the different players that affect an older adult. It might be medical, it might be their family, their friends, their community. There's a lot of different players involved here, so we wanted to make sure that they incorporated that kind of thinking. And we also wanted to make sure that whatever they looked at had the opportunity to scale so that it could be deployed at a global level. At the same time that we were working with the university teams, we were also conducting a survey and a poll. And we were at a couple of different events in the very beginning of 2016. South by Southwest was one of them. And as people came to the IBM Cognitive Studio at South by Southwest, they were asked to respond to 3 questions that was posted on a very large set of wall boards just as they came in. And those 3 questions were, what worries you most about getting older? What emerging technology will help manage the aging process the most? And what discussions do you think are going to be difficult? What discussions are difficult that you're having with your parents right now, and what do you imagine they'll be difficult? Each visitor was given 3 sticky dots, and asked to place 1 dot next to the answer that they felt best represented their opinion. So 1,500 people that came through, and almost 300 people responded to the questions and gave us additional feedback on the topic. And this told us that this is a conversation, no matter kind of what age you're at, that people are either dealing with today or concerned about today, or could quickly imagine themselves being concerned about with their own parents or their grandparents. And what we found out was 47% of people were most about the memory. The thought of having dementia or having cognitive decline where they couldn't be independent as they got older was really top of mind. In terms of difficult conversations, people thought 35% of people, the most popular response was people really did not look forward to having a discussion about long-term care or assisted living with their parents. The goal for across the board, no matter what age group, is that people want to stay independent. They want to stay living in their own home, in their own community. And 1 in 3 people, 33%, thought that IoT technology and smart homes really had the most potential to help manage the aging process. Okay.
So yeah, at this point we had a lot of great input and a lot of great data on different areas and ideas of different challenges. We had some incredibly bright teams of people taking a look at these challenges and generating new ideas. And we took the challenge and asked them to each kind of focus in on a key recommendation. And each of those teams pulled together and pitched their key recommendation. And we actually were able to combine 2 of them because they came in close together. But essentially, we were able to look at 1 as knowledge as a service, 2 is the potential for the technology to protect older adults from financial fraud, and 3 is to create a cognitively powered community. So now Sheila will help dig into each of those in a little more detail.
Great. So with the first one, knowledge as a service, one of the things that became clear is that there are a fair number of nonprofit groups. AARP is a good example here in the United States, and agencies that connect a wide range of individual partners. And these individual partners can provide healthcare discounts, insurance plans, travel benefits, and while the current model works, a lot of people subscribe to AARP and other services like it, we felt it's missing a major opportunity because everything is kind of point to point. There's no opportunity to really share information or develop any new insights with regards to what older adults are doing and what they want. So rather than a one-to-one relationship with a single agency or nonprofit, the idea here is what if partners, like a healthcare provider or an insurance company or a travel provider or retailer, could tap into a central platform and combine not only private data but also industry data and public information in a way that was unique and secure. And this large-scale kind of integrated sets of consumer data combined with cognitive computing would enable a couple of things. One is, it would be easier for the audience that you're trying to serve if they could get, answers or access services quickly, often using a natural language interface. There's also a greater potential to look at a bigger set of data so that you get, as a partner or a provider, you would get new insights and information and knowledge about this audience that you're trying to serve. And with this knowledge, you've got better data to make better decisions and also to develop new products that are targeted to this audience. The second solution, and this is one that I think is really top of mind with a lot of people. I think it's hard these days not to find someone who's had some incident of either identity theft or online fraud. It's all too common today. It's even unfortunately very common with older adults. They are targeted as a group of people, unfortunately. And it's a very strong unmet need to have secure savings and investments for their financial resources. It's a major risk for older adults and their families, and oftentimes they discover the theft after it's too late to take quick action, and that just kind of extends the kind of the agony of trying to deal with identity theft or financial fraud. So the idea here is to work with the financial services industry and government institutions to do a better job and a more targeted job of, banks do have fraud models. But to date, nothing's been really kind of targeted to older adults. And so the idea here is, what if you had a platform and a set of services and instruments that were specifically looking at older adults' financial transactions, so that you could build kind of a comprehensive financial persona for an elderly individual. It would define how they spend, where they purchase, what they do, what kind of fraudulent activities might be more pertinent to this individual or to this cohort, that can feed back into a financial model and a fraud detection system continuously and instantly. So it's learning. And the goal here is to create a platform that would enable older adults to conduct risk-free transactions. And the big win for the bank and the technology providers is really strengthening trust and creating additional loyalty with their market base, which is going to lead to just more business and potentially enhanced revenue streams. And then finally, the last recommendation was around this idea of creating a cognitively powered community, a cognitive town square, if you will. And there's a lot of work going on right now, a lot of focus about keeping older adults independent and living in their homes as long as possible. And that is, something we, all are kind of committed to doing. That's very clear. But in addition to staying in their homes, I think what we hear a lot, and probably even more often, is they want to stay connected with their community. Staying safe is one thing, but staying, kind of vibrant and connected with the people that you love, with the work that you do, with the activities that you enjoy, that contributes to the quality of your life. And people want to stay connected as they get older. And one of the suggestions here is, what if you were able, for people that may have challenges with mobility or with some other type of impairment, give them the ability, community by community, to kind of have this virtual or cognitive town square that would let, each community is unique. They have a unique set of factors, libraries, shops, vendors, physicians, other services that really make it a home. And what if you had a platform that was easy for these partners and these vendors to kind of plug into? And that platform was enabled by natural language processing. with speech recognition, vision recognition, and data integration, and make it easy for people to kind of plug in and offer their services. We think that would be a huge win. And you heard me talk earlier, and one that would scale. There are models like this in existence in different communities, but they're difficult to do, and they tend to be one-offs. And the goal here would be to create a kind of an offering that would let communities do this more easily and maintain it and extend it. So a couple of other things that are kind of following on from our study, from those 3 recommendations. One of the areas that IBM is now looking at, and we've just actually published a new study, and I've included the link here on the slide. It looks at loneliness in the older adult or aging population, and this is a huge issue that cuts across multiple sectors with an impact. If you've been reading about this, or it's been in the news a lot, loneliness actually has been found to have a really devastating effect on both not only your psychological health but your physical health. With some researchers equating the impact of being up to 15, like the equivalent of smoking 15 cigarettes a day, as much as an impact as being obese or having diabetes. It can really shorten your life. And it can create a situation where it's causing physical symptoms that are going to already increase the strain on a healthcare network and a government network that's already going to be strained. So we've just published this report. We spoke to over 50 experts worldwide in this field to kind of understand what are the initiators of loneliness in older adults, what's been the challenges to addressing it, what are some of the successful solutions today, and then how do we extend it? What are some of the areas for opportunities to address loneliness? And like I said, we just published it about 3 weeks ago, so I would encourage everybody to kind of go out and take a look there. And Steve, do you want to talk about the other project we've been working on?
Yes, definitely. The next project that we have been working on is actually a project that we launched or at least announced at CES this year in January, so just about 6 months ago. And it builds off some of the items that we found in the Outthink Aging report, in the fact that we saw the opportunity for transportation solutions to really be beneficial for people of all ages and abilities. IBM had already been working with a company called Local Motors, which is a small automotive company. They actually 3D print their vehicles, and they were working with IBM and their Watson technology to be able to figure out how to make a cognitively powered self-driving vehicle. But what we were able to do at CES this year is announce that we want to make this vehicle as accessible as possible to as many people as possible. So not just the very basics of ADA, but how do you, beyond a wheelchair ramp, how do you build a vehicle that would work well for someone who is deaf or hard of hearing, someone who is blind or low vision, cognitive disabilities, multiple forms of disability, mobility challenges. We've been going around the country and meeting with a wide variety of different organizations to get the feedback from their members and their organizations to get a lot of interesting ideas about how what this vehicle might look like and how it might work for people in a wide variety of different communities. We've had a really great response so far. And working with our partners at IBM and Local Motors, there's actually just been a challenge that has been put up online, and I'm going to put the link to it in the chat form here in the next minute or so. And we would encourage everyone to go take a look at this link. We are looking for new ideas. We're crowdsourcing this, so it is a chance for people of all backgrounds to come in and provide their feedback. Whether you submit a fully laid out submission and plan on some whether it's code or hardware design, but also just an opportunity to get involved and discuss what impact accessible self-driving vehicles could have. So we'd love to get the feedback from you or others in your community about what we're able to do. But with that, really just wanted to thank all of you for joining. We wanted to provide a bit of an overview of what we found with the Outthink Aging report, as well as a number of the projects that are continuing to build off of that into new and even more exciting opportunities to help people of all ages and abilities. But really what I'd love to do is be able to take questions and hear from all of you of what you'd love to know, and Sheila and I will see what we can do to answer them.
So I think we've got a question here about cognitive computing working to enhance computer accommodations, visual recognition, and voice to text. Yes, those would be two elements, both with the Outthink Aging report. Those are recommendations that came out on that, as well as the work that we're trying to do with accessible OLLI.
And we really see this as an opportunity to utilize the cognitive computing to personalize. So essentially, in whatever situation someone finds themselves, having the environment basically be personalized for them. So if you're talking about the vehicle, the accessible OLLI that we're talking about, would you like to communicate with that via an app, or would you want to talk to it, or use sign language with it, and so on? This can be something that could really be customized for each individual. But even beyond that specific vehicle, we see opportunities for this technology to be used in a wide range of different areas.
It looks like we have Sheena has her hand raised. Sheena, did you have a question? If you wanted to say, you need to press the talk button on your participant panel, or there you go, or you can message it. Okay, I'll go ahead and let you take that over. Steve, looks like she typed it into the chat box.
Yeah. So Steve, this might be a question from the CTA Foundation perspective. I know you work with a number of different companies kind of focused on the accessibility and aging space.
Yeah, happy to touch on that. And we are working with a wide variety of different companies, and it is certainly major companies. And you mentioned Philips and IBM and many of the other global brands, but we also, quite frankly, work with a lot of startup companies as well.
Steve, one second. Can we read the question? I can go ahead and read it if you'd like, just because we do have some people on the call, so just to make sure if they're not on the computer. So there was a question that came in. It says, there are so many players in the aging arena today. How are major corporations such as IBM, Philips, and others all working together to accomplish these goals? Okay, thanks. Sorry about that, Steve.
No problem. Thank you for the reminder on that. But yes, essentially one of the things that we as the CTA Foundation have been focused on is helping to raise awareness within the industry of the importance of the aging market. I really feel like that this is something that technology can be a real benefit for people as we age and enable us to live independently, as well as provide a variety of options on how we want to age. So part of it is sharing that type of information, that this is, quite frankly, it's a market opportunity for many of these companies to address this challenge. And we're seeing more and more companies really focusing in on that, whether it is developing technologies that do have a real impact on the aging audience, coming together at a number of different conferences like at CES and other activities to talk about accessible technologies. We're seeing more and more conversation about these issues. The one thing we certainly have to be a little bit careful of is we can't, there's certain degrees of information that can be shared between companies, but certainly as a trade association, CTA is very interested in highlighting the market opportunities that exist with aging technology for aging and accessibility, and providing as much information and highlights as we can to the industry and then out to the communities as well. And that's the other aspect that the CTA Foundation takes on, is we do work with a number of nonprofit organizations across the country in a wide variety of different types of disabilities, different aging organizations, to help consumers learn about what technologies are out there, as well as provide some feedback on what's working and what might not be working so well.
Yeah, and I think you mentioned this with the OLLI project. Much of the innovation with OLLI will be crowdsourced. And so it will be, essentially open source solution and code. And I see more of that happening, where companies just contribute and people contribute individually their ideas and their technologies too.
Yeah, crowdsourcing is really kind of an interesting opportunity for this space, because one of the things we're always talking about is the need for companies to engage people with disabilities, as well as older adults and other populations, essentially anyone who they're looking to engage with a technology, have them involved in the design process. And that's something that many companies are doing a really good job as far as IBM. I can say for Sheila's team, there's an entire team of people there. Many of their team have different types of disabilities that are engaged in all different areas around that company, and we see that with a wide variety of other companies as well. But when you then turn to crowdsourcing, you're able to reach an even broader population that can bring a wide variety of different perspectives. And taking to a project that's kind of outside of what we're doing with this partnership, but there's a number of programs going on around prosthetics, and particularly with open sourcing and 3D printing, there's a whole kind of world of people who are taking designs for affordable 3D printed hand prosthetics, and it's open source so that each person can kind of download the design, make little improvements to it, upload it, and let someone else kind of take a cut at what they would see as an improvement to it. And over time, we're able to see these designs improve greater and greater, just because they're able to get so many people involved and so many people participating.